I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the City of Meridian Solid Waste Advisory Commission regular meeting for July 26th. It is now 4:02, and we'll start off with roll call. Please indicate if you're present. James Leckie, Megan Larson.
Here.
Sean Keating.
Here.
Taryn Richmond. Mark Nelson.
Here.
Scott Walters.
Here.
Steve Corey here. We'll move on to ex officio members. Rochelle Klein.
Here.
Very good quorum being present. We will go ahead and move on to consideration of the draft agenda. Are there any comments on the draft agenda for this meeting?
Mr. Chair, no comments. Move to approve the agenda as written.
Been moved and seconded that the draft agenda be approved as written. Further comments? Sensing the committee is ready for a vote. All those in favor of approving the draft agenda as written signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. We'll move on to the draft minutes from the June 28th meeting. Are there any comments on the draft minutes?
Mr. Chair, no comments. Move to approve the June 28th minutes as presented.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the draft minutes for the June 28th meeting as written. Further comments? Sensing the commission is ready for a vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion passes. With that, we'll go ahead and move into staff program reports. The first item under the staff program reports is the quarterly report. Sarah?
So this financial report is April to June. Pretty much the same as the last three. Well, actually, it's gone up a little bit. So we're getting out of the leaf season, so we'll start seeing more of kind of what we see throughout the whole year. So on your left-hand side, you have the curbside recycling tonnage. And then it's dark for March, April, April, May, June. And then on your right-hand side, you have the trash tonnage, and that's gone up. The residential is actually kind of spiked. I'm not sure why that is. So we kind of have, it kind of actually went up kind of a good amount. I'd have to look at the population to see if there's a difference. But if you look at the average house pounds per household, there isn't much of a difference. So on the right-hand side, we have average pounds per per household, and the recycling is pretty much stable. And then the trash has gone up in May and then down in June. I know a lot of people are out, doing picnics and stuff. So that definitely see a lot more trash being produced with throwaway containers and kitchenware. And then on the left-hand side, you have both the residential and commercial recycling on top, and then you have the trash down below for both residential and commercial. And again, in May, you see kind of a larger dip or larger increase. And then pretty similar as the last few months, total average diversion rate. That's the diversion, meaning things that are not placed within the landfill. We're hovering around 8%. And then again, we still see that large increase during the leaf season, and then it kind of calms down the back around 8. And then just looking at the composition that we have, since we're now into the grass season, we're seeing some organic waste being diverted. It's still a small amount, 0.7% right now, but something. And then again, trash for both residential and commercial takes the large portion. And then we finally got numbers for the full year for HHW. So kind of this is what we're seeing. Makes sense. You know, it's a little low during winter and then it picks up during the spring and then summer months. So this is in tonnage. That's all I have for the quarterly report. Is there anything else? Any questions on any of the slides?
Mr. Chair, Sayard, that spike up in May, could that, the bulky item collection, isn't that the first part of May?
Oh,
Could
yeah.
that be
I forgot
reflected?
about that. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like there is that, yeah, because like why would residential?
Recliners way more than takeout containers.
No, I know. I was like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of other activities that residents do, you know, around this time. But yeah, and we did talk about that in May. So yeah, good point on that one. Any other questions?
Thank you. I
Yeah.
think that's it. Next we move on to the CRF report.
And I also have the 2 missing numbers for the last 2 months. So just when would
Okay.
you like that now or?
Well, if you want to go ahead and just identify how much we received over the last quarter and what the total balance is, that'd be great.
So it's going to be a little bit more than this, probably, we're probably close to 80,000. So right now we have $78,205, but we're missing 2 months. And one of those months was around, yeah, over 1,000 and the other one was around $900. So roughly 80,000 to date.
Thank you. And with that, that completes the staff reports and we'll go ahead and move into old business. Commissioner Larson, on the Arts Subcommittee, are there any updates that we need to work on today?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, nothing that we need to work on today, I think, but just kind of updating folks on where we're at. We tweaked it just a little bit from what we had talked about last time, adjusting the dates to correspond with the Arts Commission activity and so forth. I believe the application will go live on July 26th.
Yes, today.
So, Sayard worked really hard and did a great job in working with the Arts Commission or the Arts Department and communications and IT, getting that all set up so that folks can submit an online application, include up to 4 pictures. And the arts folks were really helpful in, you know, helping us with some things we didn't know, right? Like the size of those pictures, what they should be, and kind of some waivers around if the artwork gets damaged, that they don't hold us responsible for that. And the other adjustment that we made was around the prizes. Ran into a little snag with giving away gift cards with a cash value. So we're going to assemble a gift bag for the winners in each of the categories. Yeah, but ready to move forward, and I'm very excited to see if we get a lot of entries or no entries or but Sayard's got up on the screen what it looks like for folks getting ready to submit. Anything to add?
Yeah, so on the left-hand side, this is kind of where people would go. So the contest, your booth is gonna be at the community art party. And then down below is it's called the Reclaim Art Contest. So they can click there. And then let's see here. Darn. Trying to see if I can share this screen. Yeah. So this is the online, it says all the information about how you can sign up for to be in the contest. And then you just fill out all your information. You can have up to, these are the 3 groupings that contestants can be in one of these. They can drag up to 4 photos and then submit it. And then I'll get that submission and then I'll send it over to you guys. And then I believe in August, yeah, winners will be contacted around this time. So in your figure out in the August meeting, kind of if you do it beforehand or during the meeting, depending on how many applicants there are.
We should have the winner selected either at our August meeting or by the August meeting so that we can notify them. Some of that language was tweaked a little bit to be a little more clear that we're looking for materials that would otherwise have gone to the landfill. So claimed or recycled items.
Reclaim, repurpose, recycled, all 3 that we used. Otherwise, that would be destined for the landfill. We kind of spell that out in there. So hopefully that will help. Yeah, so I think it's gonna be exciting. Yeah. And we'll have some social media to post, one this week or early next week, and then saying, hey, it's open. One that says it's closing soon, the contest entry. And then we'll have a press release go out and then a little ad in the parks activity guide. So we're getting our tentacles out there. So, people know what's going on, getting information out there.
Members of the commission, do you have any questions on the information that's been presented?
Mr. Chairman,
Rochelle.
I'm just curious, Commissioner Larson, why the cash prize or gift card prize just seems so attractive. And I think we may lose some artists if you say a good gift basket. Was there, I'm sure you just have to answer it once and it'll apply to every other thing we do that might have a gift card.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Rochelle. So we were just precluded from using or from giving out cash funds. So we are not accessing the community recycling fund. We're accessing public works budget dollars because we were too late to make a request for recycling fund. So this is our first year. We're testing it out and we'll use that feedback for next year to try to improve the program, but doing the best we can with what we've got.
And then with that, I guess guys will have to decide how much you want to spend, because I do have, after we kind of talk about this, segue into money that's left over in the Public Works Fund that's it's a use it or lose it, and lose it by October 1st. So kind of deciding about how much money use it for the prizes, other things, maybe bike materials. So it's something to consider. I have around $763.
So planning a little bit of outreach this week to local vendors, local businesses to see if they would be willing to donate art supplies or something like that, items to go in the bag. So if that is fruitful, then we'll know what we need to supplement from the budget or if we need to pick up the whole prize from the budget.
One thing I would recommend is maybe getting a tablecloth with your like swag on it. So then when you have events, especially this one coming up, I think it's like maybe $200 at the most. I can check on that, but having that, so then events in the future, people can see who you are when they come up to your booth, I think would be helpful.
Do we need to do an action at this particular point? I mean, the authorization on a tablecloth and maybe, or anything else?
It would probably be helpful to do that, just to have an idea, so we can start the ball rolling now. Like I talked to Scott and Mark, and if they have a wish list of what type of bike materials that they still need, maybe have priorities like, we really want this, and then these are nice to have. So then when, if you guys decide to purchase, say, a tablecloth, and then how much money you think you might want for the prizes, the rest can be used for bike supplies, or I think that, so then that would take, because what the next one we have is August, but with purchasing things, that might take a little bit of time. At least for the tablecloth, and we'll definitely need the tablecloth and then the prizes, because September 16th is the event. So we would really only have, well, roughly 16 days if we wait until the August meeting.
So I think what I'm hearing is we could do that at the August meeting, but it'd be nice to, if there's a thought already now, because it'd give it more time to go ahead and follow through. Okay.
To acquire the items, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I can work with Sayer to get a kind of a short list of consumables for any leftover money, that make sure that doesn't get lost, and we'll put that to use for like tires and chains and oil and that kind of stuff. Tubes.
Mr. Chair, Sarah, the thing I'm struggling with is a little bit, I don't know the dollar amounts to put towards the tablecloth or towards the bike supplies or so forth. If, Mr. Chair, the motion or the direction could be to handle those 3 items with the dollars that we have available, and the allocation between the categories to be determined, if that's acceptable.
That works, yeah. And I can always send, an email out. So, and then, you can also give authority to the chair, so send you like the breakdown of the 3 after you are, have already submitted whatever, how much money you need. And then, so you can say yes or no, and then I can go ahead and start the process. Because I think those 2 things are the most important. If you're interested in a tablecloth for this event and the prizes, get that squared away. And then we can just slowly hammer out getting the bike supply stuff through the rest of the fiscal year.
Yes,
I think just getting an okay is probably a good idea.
Anyone want to make a stab at a motion, or do you want some?
So I would move that SWAC authorize obtaining price quotes and then getting the chair's okay on purchases of a tablecloth for the art party, 3 prizes for the winners of the art contest, and bike repair supplies with the available budget.
It's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and pursue using the available funds in the SWAC account in the following priority. First is to acquire a tablecloth for our events. And then second is to go ahead and acquire some prizes for the art contest coming up. And then third, to go ahead and replenish supplies for recycle a bicycle activities. Further comments?
Mr. Chair, probably the prize money is the higher priority. And tablecloth is, if we can make that second priority. We can live without it, but we'd rather not. We need to work out what the prize is. We have to fund that ourselves or what first.
Meg, did I misstate that? Was that your intention? Was to reverse those orders?
I think that would be best since we've already committed on the internet to awarding a prize. We want to make sure that we have something to award, so.
Okay, so I apologize. So the priority order would first be to acquire prizes for the art contest. The second priority would be to acquire a tablecloth, and then a third using remaining balance to replenish supplies for the Recycle a Bicycle program. Further comments? Sensing the commission is ready for a vote. All those in favor of allocating the remaining funds in the priority that I've mentioned, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, no. The motion passes. Thank you, Meg. We move on to new business, and the item under new business is the Ada County Solid Waste Advisory Committee. Its quarterly meeting was earlier today, and the county went ahead and provided information primarily on three subjects. One of them was on the base rates, which the base rate for received municipal waste, the county staff have put together a resolution to change the rate for received waste to $32 a ton from the current $29 a ton. That resolution is drafted. County Commission has not scheduled when they're going to pick it up, but there's no interest on staff's part to deviate from that number, and no indication that there's going to be an attempt to deviate from that number. Second, that on household hazardous waste, the county has changed course, and they're going to institute an extension to Clean Harbor? No. Anyway, to extend the current household hazardous waste contractor for one more year. And the scope would be this current scope of work for that year. So through FY24, there would be no changes to the household hazardous waste program. And then they want to move quickly on a new RFP for FY25 starting October 1st of 24, going forward into an altered scope of work for the successful bidder that would move the responsibility for the liability for the collection area from the county to the cities, and move the authority for decision of where pickups occur from the county to the cities, and defer the cost of the collection activity to the cities. But the conversation on that RFP is going to open now, and will be a prime topic for the October county meeting. Basically, again, just from everybody's point, the county is wanting to shed some liability. The city of Boise wants to shed responsibility and liability for trucks and so on. So there's going to be quite a discussion as this reallocation of the liability and such happens. The third thing was kind of a initial presentation on the county working towards having waste diversion rates. Basically, the county would be returning to a rate structure that had categories for example, construction and demolition wastes, and in their terminology, fibrous waste, but that's limited to like cardboard and paper, leaves and twigs and such, but material that could be composted. And they would develop a cost for those categories where what was charged at the gate for those categories would cover the cost of handling those type of wastes. And they envision having some breakdown of that such that there might be a lesser rate, for example, on clean concrete that could be broken up and used as aggregate around the landfill for roads and such. But generally, the price structure would be set up at the category level. And of course, the intention is somehow to get to a point where there is an incentive for people to segregate their waste rather than just delivering mixed waste up to the landfill. And I think, of course, from our standpoint, we want to make sure that they don't end up in a point where they encourage illicit dumping or going ahead and just mixing waste and sending it up as the municipal waste, which would increase the volume and cost of that category of waste. So that's going to be a very intense conversation as it goes forward. And with that, are there any questions about what's happening at the county? Yes. And both. You'll be billed by weight, but each category will have a different rate.
One thing, Chair, they talked about was they have to set up a new system, like a reporting system, and that's what's kind of slowing them down. That new database? Or?
Yeah. The current software system that the county's running under is completely tapped out. They aren't in a position to be able to create those additional or reinstate those additional categories. The system just crashes. So they're in the process of buying a new software system that would allow them to be able to do this categorization. That procurement obviously will take a few months. So again, this is up and coming change and going to spark some intense conversations, but before they can get there, they need to replace their software up there. Any additional questions on the county meeting? Very good. Then we'll get to the stakeholder updates. We have the proposed FY24 rate presentation from Republic Services. Bob, I believe you're going to go ahead and make the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So let's get this pulled up. Are you up? So thank you. And I also want to thank staff again for another good year going through everything top to bottom, taking a look at where we're at what's in our contract, and then also some of the things that I'll talk about that are a little bit different this year, some of them positive. Kind of high level, per contract, 90% of the CPI is what the average increase is, which this year works out to a 7.088% increase. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through kind of how that affects rates for the average ratepayer with a 95-gallon waste container and recycling, because that's our largest population of people. And then we'll kind of back into the other lines of business. So for that average ratepayer with a 95-gallon, you're looking at $1.18 increase based on the CPI calculation. Now, there's a couple of things that are going to positively impact this year. So the first one is reroute productivity. So one of the things that Jay and then Scott Saddam, who's the supervisor that covers Meridian, are doing this year is what we're calling micro reroutes, where we're taking areas where there's been a lot of growth and we're rerouting those and making those more efficient. And the challenge for Meridian is it's grown so much that we could either, one, do a mass reroute of 40,000 homes, which would make people upset and probably give me more gray hair, or do these little micro ones. We go fix areas and then we don't move on until we get to the next one. And that's going to positively impact rates by 7 cents. So we're pulling 7 cents off of that based on what we're going to be able to do next year. So that helps with some of the increase. The second one that's going to have a positive impact is our transfer station redesign. So we have pulled the compactor out, so it's gone. We're putting a drive-through in and redesigning that transfer station to be more efficient. So between maintenance, the amount of time our trucks are in there, and then the transportation and the time it takes for Mike to pull the trucks out, that's going to positively impact rates by 2 cents per household per month. So that's also going to have a positive impact. Some of the other areas that are kind of outside of that CPI. So we were talking about the household hazardous waste. We are keeping the same program, but we're getting an 8.6% increase to that, which equates to 5 cents per household increase for that program. And I will say that program is nationally recognized. It's a phenomenal program, one of the best ones that I've ever seen. And I'm disappointed that we're changing that up because that's going to end up in the waste stream. There is no doubt about it. The next increase we're looking at is our recycling increase. And again, that's about 8.6%. Very consistent with CPI this year. One of the things that's a little bit disappointing is that we started seeing our commodity prices get better at the tail, or actually middle of last year, and then they bounced right back up, and they've been pretty stable at being upside down. But that's on our recycling service charge, so 8.6%, and that works out for us at a 10-cent impact increase. Glass recycling is something that we've talked about, so we are now getting charged for that. That's 2 cents per month. The next one that has a big impact, and we can't probably talk about this enough over the next period of time, is disposal. So disposal, where the county has landed, is a 10.34% increase, which for the average resident is 32 cents per month. It was going to be double that. And that's just something I think we need to talk about as a commission more as we kind of get through this. But that has a relatively large percentage impact, even compared to all the other categories combined. And then finally is the VTEC. So that is our natural gas credit that we get from the government. So this year, we're going to be able to return to the residents 13 cents. Now, last year, what we got back was an 11 cents. So actually the net is 2 cents. So we got a little bit better. Some of the reason for that is that we got more of a rebate because our natural gas rates went up. So, it's a percentage calculation there, but we are, able to return 13 cents to the ratepayer. So the way that works out for your average customer with the 95-gallon option is $1.67 total increase. For a 65-gallon customer, it's $1.47. And for the 48-gallon customer, it's $1.27 increase. Now, the other two lines of business, a little bit different, just because disposal has a bigger impact on our commercial. So that's our business to business customer. And so that increase is 7.4%. Reason for that just being is that weight has a bigger impact, and then the industrial, so roll-off business, weight has a huge impact. And so that averages out with disposal at an 8.72% increase. So as you look at some of these landfill rates they're talking about with C and D, if when they do make that change, that's going to have an even bigger impact on especially those roll-off customers that are moving construction debris. And that'll be something we'll probably have to talk about this next year when they make that change. Any questions?
And I believe at this point, with that 7%, then of course, this is going to be enough. They'll have to do a public hearing on the change.
Yep.
Just so we know. Members of the commission, do you have any questions on the information that's been presented?
Mr. Chair, Bob, you said that we pay for glass now. Can you refresh me on the change in the glass recycling that's happened?
Yep. So the glass recycling that we used to, or we still accept at Meridian Transfer, we used to get free transportation down to Salt Lake. And, with the change of economy, they had to start charging us for that. And so we are splitting that with the city. And so that what we were asked to do by staff was to look at what the impact of that would be to, per household. And it came out to 2 cents.
Sir, Mr. Chairman, may I add to that? And Commissioner Larson, and I think what you might be thinking of is in the past that those expenses were covered by the Community Recycling Fund. And so now we were asked by, I believe it was Mayor and Council to move that financial burden from this commit, from SWAC and the Community Recycling Fund to the actual rate. So that's the first time we're seeing that rolled into a rate. And just the compounding of just the normal price increase roll with Ada County's increase in disposal rolled in makes it bigger than we normally see. So that's why they're just the timing. It's just the two increases coming together, and the rolling in of glass just is probably looking different than it has in the past.
I was just going to add it's, and they're talking about the drop off glass, not the curbside.
And within your commercial, commercial, no additional programs being added in it, just the cost adjustments.
Just the cost adjustments. And those are ones that are a little bit easier because it's single service. But, I can't stress enough, this disposal discussion is a huge deal. And it is going to get complicated with the roll off, because you have roll off customers that, have mostly C and D and a little bit of MSW. I'm going to be interested to see how they separate that out and make that decision so that we can properly bill customers on the back end.
And Mr. Chairman, on as far as your question, new programs, we will nothing under the franchise umbrella, but true to like history, we are planning on launching a pilot for commercial organics. And we'll bring that forward for you guys to review ahead of time. But that would be billed probably outside until the city's ready to bring it in if it's successful. The city can look at the numbers and decide if and when they want to roll it under the franchise. But that'll probably be in the next 6 months, do you think, Bob? Ish?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is run some pilots with specific customers that are large generators. We're actually getting for free a truck that doesn't leak all over the place. So we've got some work to do before we get there. Mike's got to get, all his stuff up and running. But 6 months, I think is a good estimate. But there are major generators that could actually just pay for that themselves through their own programs that we don't need to muddy the waters with some of this stuff.
I think we would be very interested in hearing about that proposal. Seeing if there's any other comments or questions on this.
Yeah, and is this, I mean, we're going to extend it for a year. My recommendation would be is that we as a, commission get together and talk about if it's the burden is going to be on the city of Meridian, how do we do that right? So that we just don't ditch that program. My bigger concern is that if it is difficult for residents, you're going to have more household hazardous waste end up in residential cans, lighting fires in trucks, going to the recycling center and lighting fires, ending up at the landfill and lighting fires, or we have some sort of a hazmat issue that shuts down a site. So there's a lot to talk about there. It is interesting. I can tell you that my perspective, this has been a very good program for this community for a long time. It works.
Must admit, Ed, I'm not sure there's many questions left. It was a good presentation. Thank you. Perhaps in the future, we can go ahead and have a hard copy of it so that we've got something to be able to refer to. But being as we don't have that, is there any questions that anyone has at this point? Certainly a motion to act on it would be appropriate. I think time-wise, there's definitely want to go ahead and have that acted on by the end of the August meeting so that council has time to go ahead and schedule a public hearing and go ahead and consider it. What's the commission's feeling at this time?
Mr. Chair, is the task for us to recommend advancing the proposed rates to council?
It's been moved to go ahead and pass the proposal on to council for their consideration. Is there a second?
Second.
And it's been seconded. Okay, moved and seconded that we pass this on to the council for their consideration. If further comments? Sensing the commission is ready for a vote, all those in favor of passing the proposal on to the council for their consideration signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, no. The motion passes. Very good, thank you. I'm sure council will be appreciative of the time. That takes care of all of the items that are on our schedule, or on our agenda. The next meeting is August 23rd. As mentioned, we'll be able to focus on the art contest and choosing a winner. I guess we need to think that through. Do we do that on camera or whatever? Just need to understand that till a month from now. Obviously, if someone wanted to go back to the meeting, they wouldn't need to be informed that they won.
Yeah, you could always give each artist a number. So if you felt like doing that, I vote for number 8 or whatever. And then maybe from now until then, maybe wrap up some type of criteria, some standardizing criteria that everybody can go by. So when, I don't know who you all want to judge, but anybody who can judge will just like click off, check off the sheet. Like, yes, they did this, and you'll just have hopefully 4 pictures. Everybody will upload 4 pictures, but you'll just have pictures to go off of. But we try to, in the submission form, let you guys know if it's 2D, 3D, and then describe the materials used to help you out with the judging.
Mr. Chair Sayard, so our criteria at a high level was use of reclaimed materials, craftsmanship, and just kind of aesthetics, right? Is it a nice piece of art, which is a pretty subjective criteria. We'll try to flesh that out a little bit more. I think whether we judge the contest in our meeting live or just affirm judging that has taken place behind the scenes will depend on the number of entries we get. If there's 50 entries, I don't see us doing it in the meeting. If there's 3, it'll be a short meeting.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Larson, is this for Meridian residents only? It is. Okay, thanks.
Youth and adults. So there's a section for adults and then like high schoolers, middle schoolers, and then younger kids. You know, maybe help apply.
So I guess just to button that up, would ask for a little flexibility on the part of the commission as we see what kind of entries come in before we establish the agenda for next time. But we will share via email what the plan is as we get a little bit closer to that meeting and give folks time to evaluate if we need to do it before the meeting.
And Commissioner Larson, I will be traveling on that August 23rd. Depending on where I'm at, could potentially remote in. So if there's any, depending on how many applications we get, we might want to be helpful to have access to those a little bit early.
Yeah, if you're going to vote at the meeting, when I send out the agenda the week before, I can put it all there, depending on how many, if there's not a lot, and then I'll give you guys time to look at them and stuff.
Very good. I think that is a good program, a good way to approach this. If there's any other topics that you have that you'd like us to pick up in any of the future meetings, make sure that you go ahead and present those to myself or Sayard, and we'll go ahead and get them on the agenda. And with that, then I think we'll go ahead and call the meeting adjourned. I do appreciate all the work you do for this commission.